sister, my oldest sister particularly, I did this with. And I'm so grateful for what we have now. But anyway, so basically that's where the book is going. It teaches certain relationship principles that revolve around what is known as the Eve factor. And that's basically it.
Beautiful. I let all the participants on this, meeting to react than me talking about it. Please unmute yourself and you can share your, how you felt about this.
The best part that I liked is how you bring God into your life. It's amazing. And I just love the way you narrated it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it was really amazing and wonderful, very interesting and attractive.
Yes.
I was all the way I was thinking before I got it out, but for that already you have given the answer that you had the knowledge about women from your father, from your aunt.
Yes.
Your father used to tell a lot about your mother, and your aunt used to tell about. Then later on, you spoke about your wife.
Yes.
I was just doubting myself. How could you learn these many things about women? Just is it that just because of your wife? I was getting that doubt, but by then you told you got some information from your sisters as well.
Yes.
So altogether, you got this from your father, about your mother, from your aunt, from your wife, and from your sister. So it must be true. It must be true that what all you have written in this book is from the real life situation, and it must be adaptable in to everybody's life. That's really wonderful, sir. I hope we get a copy for that.
Excellent. I have a funny story. Well, yeah, sort of a funny story. Listening to you, you made me think about it. I was working at another, a bank as a computer programmer. Excuse me. And, I was working on the book at the time. And there was a young lady there that was a friend of mine. And, because I talk to everybody, you can ask Sneha, I talk to everybody. Anyway, so she came by my office because I was interviewing a lot of the ladies, for the book, because I wanted to make sure that I had everything, correct. And I wanted to make sure I covered as much as I could possibly cover. Anyway, she came to my office and she looked like she was not happy. And she said, Steve, I need to talk to you. You need to come up to my office as soon as you can. I'm like, oh boy, that don't sound too good. She says, I'm going through something here and I need your help. You in that book. You finished that book yet? She says, not yet, I'm working on it. And so, I finished what I was doing and I went up to her office and she began to tell me what she was going through in her marriage. So so I'm listening to her and I says, I got something for you. Don't worry about it. I'll be right back. And what I did was, I had part of my manuscript with me. So I took out a part of my manuscript and I says, now I'm going to give you this. No, this is what happened. Before I even brought her that, she was telling me everything that she was doing in her life and what her husband, what she did for her husband, what she did for her children, this, that, and the other. And I said to her, I says, V, when was the last time you did something extra special for you? And she started crying. She broke down. And that's when I realized, oh boy, I know what's going on here, So that's when I went back to my office and I came back and I said, okay, that this is just a part of my manuscript and nobody's supposed to see this. I says, and so I'm going to give this to you. But if you share this, if you give this to anybody, I'm going to have to kill you. And, I made her laugh by doing that, And so I says, here, take this chapter and you go home and you read it. So the next day she came to my office and she had a smile on her face. She said, Steve, I got to talk to you again. So when you get a break, come to my office. Okay, I went to the office. And she says, Steve, she says, I started reading the chapter and I got angry and I threw it on the floor. I says, oh boy, that doesn't sound good. She says, and then I picked it up. And I started reading it again and I got angry and I threw it down on the floor. And she said, then she picked it up, she crawled into her bed, she laid there and she read the entire thing over and over again. And she said these words to me that just blessed my soul. She says, Steve, I know that I'm lost. I know why I'm lost. And I know what to do to get myself back. And she says, you know what, Steve? The crazy part is, I even understand why my husband says some of the things he says. And that totally blew my mind when she said that to me. Because, you know, when you're writing and you think you got it nailed, but you don't know whether you have it. You think you have it right, you know, and you're interviewing people with this information. And that blessed my soul so much because I wasn't even finished with the book and it helped her.
Not only that, in your book, you have mentioned a couple of chapters why a most successful professional who has reached the career tops lost herself. And you also mentioned about why a glamour girl lost herself.
Yes.
So everything in her life is so picture perfect for a professional and for a successful person in the fashion industry. That was an amazing thing. It's not about your profession. It's not always about your relationship with other men in your life, but it is relationship within yourself.
Ooh, I could not have said it better, Sneha. I could not have said it better. Oh my goodness. That is such a valuable point because I was talking to someone and they were like, well, I'm not in a relationship. I said, yes, you are. I said, you're in a relationship with yourself. I said, regardless of whether you're in one or not, the real thing is your relationship with you. It is affected by your relationship with other people, but it is truly the relationship with you. And there is a part of you that you cannot give away because it belongs to you only, and it only belongs to God. It only belongs to you and God. And when you begin to recognize that and you begin to understand, like Sneha said, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. It is about you. And when you begin to see, oh, wait a minute, I've given too much, then you can go back to that place so that you can begin to give you back to yourself. Excuse me. And one of the things in the book also, it was very peculiar for me, something that I learned is some ladies get to a place where it's so tough that they can't say, I deserve good. You know, they can't really say that because they don't feel that. You know, like I said, us men, we can, if we know something can work for us, and we can say it, you know, but she can't get there. And when she's there and she can't say, you know, I deserve all these good things, I deserve better. When she can't get herself to do that, then she will recognize in herself, oh, wait a minute, I'm lost. And I want to say this too, that there was one of the tools that I give is to write a list. What I think it was like 20 things. Write a list of 20 things that makes me happy. I said, well, what? 20 things that make me happy? Yeah, you write a list of 20 things that make you happy. Why would you do that? Because you need to recognize those things. And then you need to write 10 things, 10 reasons why you deserve good. And if you can't write those 10 things, then you are in that place. And if you're in that place, let's go back to your 20 things that make you happy, because they are your roadmap back to you. Okay?
Yep.
So, but anyway.
Thank you, Steve. Wonderfully spoken. So, the participants, anybody wants to comment? Because they are all finding what their 20 things that they like.
Yeah. Let me tell a story here. This is a funny story. I was in a bookstore doing a book signing, and I'm standing on the platform and what have you, and I'm talking about these things, and I'm just going in and just passionately, and it was mostly women there, but I had a nice group of men, and over to the side I hear this scream. And it was an older gentleman. He was in his 70s. He said, "I have not been good to women," and he's crying. I'm like, "What the heck is going on here?" And he says, "Young man," because I was a little younger then. he says, "Young man, I was not gonna come here. Because I thought you couldn't teach me anything." He said, "But I've learned something today. I've learned some things today, and we getting our copy of this book, and I'm gonna do this." And that blew me away because, again, a lot of people thought this was just a woman's book. No. I have so many men that got this book, and I always tell them, this is not a book for a man that doesn't love women. If you don't love women, I don't want you anywhere near it. This is a book for men that loves women or desire to be good to women. Okay, and so anyway, so that really touched my heart. I have so many stories, and being here just brings back so many memories.
Yeah.
I had one guy who.
Sorry, we have other speakers too.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll save all the questions at the end, and if they have any more questions, they will get back to you. Thank you, Steve. Wonderful.
Yeah. Excellent.
And I have the next speaker, Pooja. Let me pin her. Pooja is known to me through Raksha Poetry Club, and I have seen her work before, but I had opportunity to work with her, and she is an amazing organizer. And especially when we wrote all languages and multiple poetries, that raising the funds, not more than the funds, it actually helped all of us to rediscover ourselves in this journey. And she is a writer, columnist, and she runs women magazines. And she is going to review an amazing book by our local person, Veen Rao. And Veen Rao has the Limca Book of Records in running the NRI Pulse. And I'm so blessed to know her in person as well. I see her magazines, I know her through, before I met her, I know her through her work. Then I knew her in person. That was wonderful experience. Pooja is going to introduce her book, Purple Lotus. It has an amazing story behind it. With all said, welcome, Pooja. Stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sneha. That was a wonderful introduction to, and it has been an amazing time for me to know Veena a little in this journey as well. Like you, I also have known her through her work, and now I was discovering an entirely different facet of her writing in this book. We have known her as a journalist, as a slick, fact offering journalist, and here she is spinning a story, which is also, as she says, it's derived from her own experience in journalism, of the stories of women that she heard on her journalism assignments. And so she has come up with this story, and I'll just I have a written review as well, which I'll share in a moment, but I just wanted to give a brief idea of what the book is. And the moment you pick up the book, the title of the book, Purple Lotus, itself tells you something about it, because lotus itself, as we know, is symbolic of standing out of murky waters and somebody rising out of their environment. And purple lotus especially stands for wisdom and empowerment, and also enlightenment. So it has a very significant role symbolically in the book as well, because the book talks about the journey of a girl who, through her life, in her she in all her life, she goes through a lot of turmoil. First, she's abandoned by her parents, and then she comes to America, comes to Atlanta, actually. And it's interesting that Veena, you chose Atlanta, as a base of her book, because that's where she has been living. And so she brings on all those details as well of Atlanta and so on. And for people living in Atlanta, it would be a good experience also to look at Atlanta through her eyes. And she talks about how she comes and finds herself in an abusive relationship here, with her husband, and how she finally finds strength to come out of it. But even when she comes out of her relationship, the fact remains that she herself remains not so much empowered, because her past, the life that she had growing up, stays with her, and she needs to overcome that before she can actually find peace with herself. She gets married to her. She remarries her. I'm sorry, that's my puppy there. Give me one moment.
And to everybody else, the book is just released. I think it is today or tomorrow. I think it just released this week. And it's Purple Lotus. I think you guys can order it on Amazon as well. Let's give a minute for Pooja to come back.
Sorry about that.
Welcome back, Pooja.
Yeah, thank you. So, and then even when she gets remarried to this childhood, sweetheart that she had in school, she's still pulled back by her, the past demons, as it were. And then she finally finds in herself to go back, revisit, and then be able to make peace with the past. And in doing so is where her empowerment finally comes, when she is in peace with herself. And that's when she finds herself being able to move past what has been holding her back. And in that sense, the purple lotus becomes even more important, how in her life, despite all the circumstances that she had and that she was facing, she was able to stand above it. And finally, she comes to a point of, not enlightenment per se, but a point where she is able to let go. And Veena also brings in a very interesting point of her losing a doll, when she's a child. In fact, that's how the story starts. She loses a doll, and that doll becomes actually her entire world. And then losing that, that's the first sense of loss that she has, and that is the most unbearable one for her. And that loss, she is able to finally, after so many years, she finds the doll when she goes back to her home place, and she's able to let go. And in letting go of the doll, that she finds peace. And it's amazing. And Veena starts this book by saying that there is a quote by Mark Twain where she says that, Mark Twain says that, the loss of a doll for a child and the loss of a throne for a king are actually similar, because they both mean so much to the person who's losing that. So for me, the entire book that I read was actually read from that perspective of Purple Lotus, and therefore I start my review actually with this quote from Buddha, and I'll quickly read this. Buddha famously said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." In Veena Rao's debut novel, Purple Lotus, we see such a path unfold for Tara as she journeys towards self-discovery and empowerment. The lotus is a well-known symbol of purity. It rises from murky waters, but is unsullied. It is also the symbol of following your path, your dhamma. A purple lotus is especially known as a symbol of wisdom and dignity. But Tara of Rao's novel has a long and bleak journey before she can reach a place of wisdom and dignity. Shorn of symbolism, Tara is a girl entangled in her own sense of grief, as also yet another girl trapped in a patriarchal society. The book begins with little Tara losing her doll during her family's move to Mangalore. In trying to cope with the loss of the familiar, losing her doll turns out to be deeply traumatic. This is underscored by Mark Twain's quote that the novel opens with on how loss of a toy for a child and the loss of a throne for a king are similarly painful. Tara's sense of abandonment is further deepened as her parents leave her behind with her grandparents and a schizophrenic uncle. They do, however, take her brother with them, while little Tara is too young to grapple with what it means to be a girl in a gender discriminatory society. As Tara grows up, her respite are books and her time with her uncle on his good days. When she finds that Cyrus from school likes him, life suddenly feels a lot more bearable. But then her parents come back to claim her, and she is yet again torn from what she has come to regard as home. Much like Rao herself, grown-up Tara finds journalism to be her calling. Soon she begins writing on women empowerment, even as she herself is pushed into getting married by parents who find her getting too old to be marriageable. Her marriage lands her in Atlanta 3 years after waiting for her husband to get her to US where he works. In these 3 years, Tara has endured constant questions and pressure from family and friends. And so even when she realizes she is trapped in an abusive marriage, her family insists that she stay on and make it work. Even as Tara's life continues to unspool in an ever-deepening spiral, it is her silent strength that is uplifting and heartbreaking at the same time. Her strength is not of one determined to be brave, but one cornered in a blind alley. Through it all, she clutches at every little thing that comes her way, even the time with her abusive husband, before he reveals his abusive side. just as she clutches at every little lifeline that she gets tossed along the way, whether it is working as a cleaner, learning new skills, or modeling. There is no one easy way for Tara, and her struggles resemble those of many other women who find themselves in similar situations. In Tara's challenges, such as with learning to drive, Tara Rao takes the opportunity to share experiences which would resonate with every immigrant woman. Finally, Tara finds friends in local Indian and American community and leaves her husband. Life finally takes a turn for her when she accidentally meets Cyrus and they marry. Love had finally found its way in Tara's life, but what should have been a period of contentment in her life yet again remains elusive. Her old fears continue to beset her, and she returns to India to hibernate. Except this journey home also turns out to be a journey into her past, and she finally confronts her sense of loss. Life comes full circle for Tara in a swift arc when she finds a doll only to let it go. It is in placing the loss of a doll at the center of Tara's journey that the story comes closest to its symbolic bearings. While every other trauma was inflicted from outside, this gnawing loss had been Tara's own. Buddha also said, pain is certain, suffering is optional. One of the hardest things to do in life is letting go of what you thought was real. In letting go of the doll, Tara also sheds a lifetime of trauma. At once a universal theme, as well as one that is specific to the Indian society, Rao's book is essentially a story of empowerment and survival. For a book invested in these themes, the book reads remarkably like a pebble drop in the silence, where the author is present only in the quietness of the book. Rao says she spent much time polishing the draft, and it shows. A richly narrated book, it is a far cry from the crisp style of journalism that has been Rao's work so far. The writing style keeps pace with the storyline. The haunting quality of Tara's past is a sharp contrast to the immediacy of her present, just as it turns mellow after meeting Cyrus. Having spent many years in Atlanta, Rao's book does not stray away from this known location and is richer for it. Mangalore and other areas in the book also bear a similar stamp of familiarity. Women empower other women, and Tara's journey too would have been incomplete without the friends she finds in women around her. From strangers pitching in with everything from advice to shelter, it is this sisterhood that carries her through her darkest hours and becomes an important theme in the book. Rao says bits of this book were inspired by the stories of women she had heard on her journalism assignments. And so she lends her voice to Tara, who she takes up writing again towards the end of the book and begins to work for women empowerment. Towards the end of the book, Tara writes, not all monsters are egregious. Some stay hidden in plain sight. They wear a normal mask. They don't set you on fire. They crush your spirit slowly until you die every day from loneliness, purposelessness, worthlessness, hopelessness. I was expected to exist for society. I chose to live, to love. I take heart in the knowledge that monsters around me do not sully me, because the names they have for me are not the names I give myself. Rao chose to give her the name of Tara, the Buddhist goddess of liberation, and by the time the book ends, she is well on her way to healing and becoming whole. As her uncle Anand had told her, the whole of the universe is inside you. To rule yourself is to rule the world. Thank you.
Wow, I am speechless, Pooja. It's such a wonderful
Beautiful
book. It reflects your personality and Veena's personality as you are reading the review of the book. I mean, I'm like spellbound.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
I do Yeah, I do want to also, in my brief earlier, before I read the review, the one important theme of the book was, of course, the abuse of women and the domestic violence, and how she finds the path to be empowered, and the journey that she takes to through it, where she works as a cleaner, where she even models, for somebody, and she's taking every step, and including learning to drive. She's trying to learn computers, just like every other immigrant woman who has not come with a with a technical degree. The people who have had a technical degree have a clear path in front of them, but those who do not, coming here, they have to try and find what works for them. And especially when she is here and she is out, when she's not living with her husband anymore, so she's trying to do all that. And that was a very empowering part of the narrative as well, which I wanted to also mention, because I know that it's an important part of the book, of course, and also for Reena. And she made it a point to bring that focus, as well as the fact that women empower other women. So there are always friendships which are playing an important role in her life and which see her through. And so that is another theme which is significant for us all women, of course, because we see how women are always there for each other. Not maybe not 100% of the time, but most of the time at least we try to. And also, so those were the two things which I felt I had not specifically mentioned. And Rao just mentions and writes beautifully. The book is very rich, and it's very quietly written. It's almost like when you read the book, it's almost like it does not have any huge happening. It just happens very subtly, very slowly, and it's in the quietness of the book that it reminded me again and again of the fact that it had a symbolic meaning of purple lotus, or the fact that it had that kind of, so that aura continued for me, which is why I was reminded of Buddha in reading the book. She doesn't mind mention Buddha, but I felt it was close corner from where she was writing. So yeah, just wanted to mention that as well.
And Pooja, especially the two personalities here, the author and the reviewer, amazing, because
thank you.
There may be a volcano in the mind when you're writing and when you're reading it, but it came so subtle and then so phenomenally it was narrated and written. And three things that really touched my heart is like the writer's work is so silent throughout the book. It's very hard to communicate such a strong message, especially here we are talking about women empowerment. We are talking about the problems of an immigrant lady. We are talking about a person who is fighting against all the taboos of the Indian culture per se, and being in a foreign land and trying to make her way out, and her will to conquer her situation. It is such a complicated topic. And and you also mentioned sisterhood, women empowerment. That's the need of the day. And unlike our TV shows back, a woman is portrayed very bad and negatively, and this gives, like, it opens the avenues of all the women in the world. Well, there may be a situation, you stand up, you stand up for other women, not only for you.
True.
Beautifully narrated, beautiful book. I'll let others comment on this.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
Very beautiful, Poojaji. Just the way you have narrated, I am totally transported to a different world altogether, where I could feel the pain of Tara. So you have such a beautiful way of narrating, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I can't wait to get my hands on the book.
Now. Thank you. It's good to know. I had no idea that I was able to narrate. Okay, but good to know. Thank you.
Especially that statement, "Women empower other women." That is what I'm taking back. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Aruna, if you remember, we had a discussion about sisterhood when we wrote
Yes,
a blog about it.
absolutely. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking about as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Aparna,
ma'am.
you are not the
Yeah.
one who will keep quiet on this subject, knowing you, Aparna.
Yeah, this is, it's quite, surprising, and it's quite motivating today for me. The two topics that were discussed today so far by Pooja and Mr. Steve, they're very coincidentally very similar to the topic that I'm going to review today, the movie Thappad.
Exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, the Thappad also, like Pooja has mentioned, Veen Rao Garu, she would have been influenced by after watching certain movies, woman-centric movies, or I think she would have watched and got influenced by this movie Thappad also, because the story is very much similar. How it talks about relationships, it talks about what women expect in a relationship. It's just not too much. It's just love and respect for themselves, and all this. So yeah, I could relate to my movie, and also the narration given by Pooja. It was like as if I was reading the book with the book open in front of me, and I would love
Thank
to
you.
buy a copy of this and read it for myself. It's really
Please do. Yeah, and it's also going to it's I think coming out in the next week, but it's available, and there are some. She's also offering some giveaways on her. So it's definitely available even before that. So if you wanted to check it out, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that I've been waiting for my copies so long on Amazon. I ordered copies. I've been waiting for more than 2 months for this book.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one next week. I think it
I
launches
guess so. Yeah.
formally. Yes. Yeah.
Shamla ji,
Yeah,
I know,
ma'am.
knowing you. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Pooja, ma'am. Yeah. I, the way it is written, the way you read, I was just wondering, why is that you are reading so calm? That means in a very low tone. I believe that because the writing itself is like that, and it's also already mentioned like a pebble drop in silence, like
Yeah.
a pebble drop in silence, and the same tempo was maintained, and it's really wonderful. And one thing, monsters with different masks. Okay,
Right.
that is irritating me, but anyhow, maybe that's the fact. Anyhow, that's wonderful story as well as your review. Hats off for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shamla ji, I could see your happiness. It's reflecting on your face.
Yeah, first of all, Pooja ji, it's a great narrative, as everyone else mentioned.
Thank you
It's
so
an
much.
intense journey of a soul, a traumatized soul, I would put it that way.
Right.
And as Jilani ji mentioned, even I was thinking on that phrase, monsters with different masks,
Yeah.
which is so true. And I mean, having said that, three things struck for me personally. Especially for traumas, any traumas, it feels the closures.
Right.
Closures are the most important things, and they bring liberation followed by
Right.
empowerment. So while hearing to your narration, that's the first thing that struck to me, to whatever we do, and however intense the journey might be,
Right.
if a closure doesn't come,
Yeah.
especially for traumas,
Right.
the kind of leap the souls as well as the tangible mundane accomplishments that can take, those leaps will not be possible with those closures. On that note, a couple of other questions came to, those were for reflection, I felt. The first one was, can we become instrumental to bring closure to the traumas of the people around? That's the follow-up question that came to my mind. And the other one was to check ourselves from time to time, that are we in any anyway, are we in any way creating or contributing to the traumas of people around? Because these are very subtle and most of the times go overlooked. I mean, a lot of the people might not be contributing intentionally. Be it intentional or not, it'll have its own impact on the souls. So these two questions would be my take from narration. And again, the narration is excellent. I would love to order the book. I would love to order the book.
Thank you. I just have a little, note to, just a little comment to add to, what you said about closure. Of course, I coincidentally, my first issue of the magazine, I bring out a magazine called The Woman Inc. And it is actually a literary and advocacy magazine. So it's for women, and we talk about various issues and domestic violence and abuse and so on. And it's also poetry and literature and everything else. So the issue earlier in the year, the one we came out in January, was actually about closure. The subject was closure, and we had people writing poetry about closure. There were people who were writing stories about closure, and there was a person who had an interview, who I interviewed, and she's a broadcaster in New York, and she had come from a home where she suffered domestic violence, seeing her mother go through it. So she found closure, how she found closure. And then we had other people also sending their essays, including a psychologist who also sent in how we can find closure, within ourselves. So I think from, whatever little that I worked with that subject during that time, I realized that, closure actually, while we can help the other person achieve closure in some way, it's not really up to us. Finally, it is up to the person, for the person to find closure within herself or within himself, because the peace comes with that comes with closure has to come from you, and it also has to come from when you have achieved that sense of mental calmness within you, or when you have reached that sense of forgiveness or acceptance within you. That's when you find closure. It's you can find closure in the sense that, for example, you have not spoken to somebody and you want to speak to the other person. If you had a fight with a friend, for example, and then you want to move away or come back together or reconnect, in either way, the closure needs to happen. And so in that sense, if you are the friend that somebody fought with, for example, and if you can help them let go, or if you can help them talk it out, then yes, we can help. But if there was a larger closure that one was looking for, like for example, in the case of Tara, who was going through her own trauma, for example, and there are life situations which are happening, and then you find yourself being negative, or you find yourself traumatized by that, then that has to come from within you, where you can process yourself, and where you go through the healing process, and where you process the trauma, and you allow yourself to accept or let go. Like in Tara's case, she let go. Finally she finds the doll. She finds that somebody had stolen her doll, all the things that could have happened, and she looked around frantically. The doll was stolen by another child, and after so many years, she finds that the child comes, they're both grown women now, and that woman comes back with the doll. She said, "I'm sorry, I stole your doll." And then at that point, Tara lets go. And in doing that, I think she found that closure. Some of it was, of course, held by her friend who came to her with that thing which allowed her to closure. And then Tara was also at that stage where mentally she was ready for that closure too. So I think it has to be a combination of where you are yourself mentally and how accepting you are. Like Tara could have just flown in a rage or got upset instead, but she chose to let it go. She gives that doll back to her. uh, so I think it has to be both the sides that have to, find peace in themselves and to let go, and that's where I think closure would come. That would be my thinking of so far that I worked with, and it was a difficult topic for me too, because we all are in a journey of life, and we all have certain things which we are fighting, or which we are racing against, and we have our own sense of closure with relationships, or with certain situations in life, or even with job, for example, or anything. It could be something very small or something entirely large. So yeah.
Yeah. Happy to
Yeah,
hear
ma'am.
your insights, Pooja ji.
I'm getting a doubt if you are the author for that. So much involved, and more than the author, you are expressing a lot about that. So
Yeah, I
you're
read the book and I
totally
enjoyed the
involved.
book, and this topic is also close to my heart. The women empowerment. I do that in my magazine. Please, if you would like, any of you might want to go to thewomaninc.com, and that's where you'll find the magazine. And so yeah, these topics are close to my heart, as she Sneha mentioned. I work with Raksha is again for domestic violence victims, so that also is part of my work. I also work with Khabar magazine. So all those things come together, writing, women empowerment. So this is something which I work with on a daily basis also, and also I like to think about these things myself too, in reflecting on my life and how life has been so far. So um,
Yeah, I think Pooja, you have written in almost all leading magazines of Atlanta for sure.
yes, I think so.
And
Yeah.
and coming to your Woman Inc., you not only empowered the women, and you also talked about the other gender. That was very bold.
Yeah, and
That was that's the need.
right, the gay community. So yeah, in fact, this person who I interviewed, he had a bad experience growing up. He was sexually abused as a child. He is, of course, one of the top gay activists in India now, and he's the only one on the world power list, Pride power list. And he also appeared on Amir Khan's Satyamev Jayate show, and where he talked about his trauma, and people were surprised for the first time to see his face. And I was fortunate that he chose to talk to me, and we discussed. And um, and for him too, the closure has come so beautifully for him. He has let go of. He says, I feel empowered only when I let my my past demons go. He has come to a point where he says, I don't have any anger towards my perpetrators. They were family members, and he was upset for a long time, but he has come to a point where he has shed all anger towards them. So that's another form of closure, which he has achieved. And so yeah, it really was very emotional, but also it told how much a human spirit can not only endure, but also how much how much love, or how much, despite everything, human spirit is capable of. Like he was saying, if they come to me now, I will take them to a therapist rather than to a prison, because they need therapy rather than prison. So that was it may not everybody may feel like that, but for him it was that. He felt that it did not have to be, because they themselves didn't know at the time, or he that's how he sees it. So yeah.
Right. And the reason I brought up that topic is going back to Shyamala's closure question, right? There are multiple ways to have closure in life. One, you can find where you were lost and trying to find, like it is not the doll, it is a personification of her own soul.
Right.
Yeah, and or it could be like growing over your emotions and forgiveness. And the second thing is, and the third point that I would say, most of us at some point of our life we feel that we are lost, or we have something that much more worthy, but nobody else is recognizing it. But the most important thing I would say to everybody is recognize yourself, your self-worth. The moment you recognize your self-worth, it is not a gender-based one. As an individual soul, as an individual person, you recognize your soul, and you recognize that soul exists in you, and you recognize that there is a worth for that soul. And then you would let go so many things that are really creating some negativity on your soul and your way of your life. It happens to us every single day, to every single gender. Like it can happen to all genders, it can happen to anybody. So one thing is like, well, I'm not a easy target for others. That makes
Right.
us to think in a much different way. That's how I feel.
Right. Right. Yeah. But I also feel that not everybody is at that age of at that feeling of strength all the time. And so in that sense, I think somebody who's feeling weak should not feel vulnerable, that that they can be hurt for being who they are. For example, if a fragile flower should not fear that because I'm fragile I can be trampled on. It should be the people around for around it to nurture it and to let it grow. That would be my little thing about it, because I feel that um, it is in that empathy that we have for others, that we finally find space for the others to grow.
Yeah, and we evolve every day. We get our strength every day from within us, and above, when you're in the right group. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you. So thank you so much for all of you for your patient listening. And I know this was probably longer. I'm sorry if I took too much time.
This topic is intense.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to the Thappad review now. Yeah, is that the one next?
Yeah, and before we go into the Thappad, and I have a slightly different topic, and all this time Shankarji was like silently sitting as like, okay, mera barika bhai. So let me bring Shankarji. I knew Shankarji through Sandhya ji, when I was looking for artist for for my short film Envelope, which is based on a Bangladeshi's real immigrant problem. It's not an immigrant problem. That's a different kind of problem. When the two countries were bifurcated, there was a problem. So I was making that film in Atlanta, and at that time I was looking for talent, and I approached Sandhya ji, and Sandhya ji, actually I approached, I think Shankar ji referred me to Sandhya ji, and then that's how I ended up with my two great artists, Lakshmikant, Mr. and Mrs. Lakshmikant. That was my first interaction, and knowing about Shankarji through his work again. I know he made short films. He teaches, Hindi. He promotes Hindi language, arts, and drama stage. And at the same time, he's also in IT. Glad to have you with us. And he is reviewing a very sensitive topic and a very interesting topic. And I could not watch that movie, but I read the review. It is fascinating, and we have to talk about that. With that being said, without revealing the title, I would request Shankarji to go ahead and disclose the details.
Thank you, Snehaji. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for the introduction. Yes, I have been a part of the Atlanta film and television industry. For a while, I did some film and television. I think my last one was Anchorman 2, and I've taken a break since. And yes, like everybody else, I've been in IT, but a lot more in supply chain now. The movie that I want to review, as you mentioned, is a very sensitive topic. So I've got it written and carefully made a choice in words. So I did not want to give an extempore. The movie name is Maa Raqsam, and in Persian, it means I dance. It is a Hindi movie with a Persian name. It is a 2020 movie released for television or some private channels. Because it is in television and private channels, not many have been able to watch it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce movie lovers in this group to this film. It's a movie directed by Baba Azmi under Shabana Azmi's production.
Sorry.
This movie is about coming of age and also transformation in society, ideologies of the young and the older generation. The story revolves around a motherless Muslim girl and her father, who's a tailor or a darzi that we call as, stitching clothes within the Muslim community only. It's set in the background of a low-income traditional Muslim community. The girl takes an interest in Bharatanatyam dance, which is Hinduism based. She's encouraged by her father in her pursuit of dance. The Muslim community leaders discourage it and perceive it as a non-Islamic practice and influence. The family gets ostracized by the community. On the other hand, the Hindu teacher is supportive of the girl, but a local Hindu politician disapproves of the involvement of the Muslim girl in the Bharatanatyam dance, since it is traditionally a Hindu performance. The father is advised by both the communities that his family will not be accepted in either of the two societies. Interestingly, there is a subplot in this cinema. On the one hand, you have the dance performance and the girls struggle with the dance. And the other one is where there is an auto rickshaw driver who adores new designer shirts, which is a blend of various colors in sleeves and collars, opposed to the traditional way you wear a shirt. The father, who is a tailor, reluctantly though stitches these shirts, the designer wear shirts for this auto rickshaw driver. The politician's daughter is also non-traditional. She enjoys hip hop and Western music. So there are various subplots going in the cinema, and it is a director's way of showing the change. The climax of the movie is a Bharatanatyam dance competition where the girl participates, but the politician tampers with her audio system to tarnish the performance. But the politician's Western-influenced daughter comes to the rescue of the girl and ends up playing a song that she finds on her phone, which is a Sufi song. And the girl tries to perform her Bharatanatyam dance to a Sufi music, and the ending of the movie, of course, is predictable. She wins. The dance performance is an excellent blend of Sufi and how it is interpreted in the form of a Bharatanatyam dance, because Bharatanatyam is also storytelling, but the girl, she narrates the Sufi song in her Bharatanatyam storytelling manner. This sequence, in my mind, is the highlight of the film. The movie as such draws attention to the evolving Indian society where the younger generation is blended with multiple cultural influences. The Muslim girl with her Bharatanatyam dance, the auto rickshaw driver with his blended designer wear shirts, the hip hop favoring daughter, but yet there is a connection between all these three characters in the younger generation. So it's up to the older generation to embrace this change and grow with it. Like the father who reluctantly but stitches the designer wear shirt. One can also view it as a dilution of traditional practices. It is also coming of age, as I mentioned earlier. There is a scene where the girl, she takes a stand to defend her father in front of the community leaders. It shows a point of responsibility. The scene is framed in such a manner that she's in the shadows behind the door and comes in front of the door. This is symbolic scene of her being responsible and coming out of the shadows of her father. The movie is a low budget movie, and most of the shots are within tight shots in limited stage setup. I like the performance of all the lead characters. You've got Nasiruddin Shah, Danish Hussain, and Aditi Subedi, who is the young girl performing the dance. They all have got good performances in the movie. It is a feel-good movie to me in the end, with the right elements of entertainment and a social message. Thank you.
Wonderful. When you mentioned about this book, Maa Raqsam, then I didn't know about this book, this movie. I went and looked at what is the content of it. And the moment I realized the content, I absolutely loved it, because it is talking about it. There is a lot of sensitivity around the topic and what is happening in the world. So I am not representing any community here. I am talking as an individual, a human being. I love every person the way they are. We can have differences. We can be different, but we are all together. We are together in the sense like Aditi learning and practicing Bharatanatyam, or this person, the politician daughter playing a Western music. This is the blend. Whether we like it, we don't like it, whether you have a chauvinistic thought process, that's only restricting our souls and our thought process. We are in a society which is prejudged, but if you think about it, all religions are same. And this goes back to my own strong philosophy of, no boundaries in our thinking. We are all human beings together. We may practice different, but respect each other. That's what even in the corporate worlds they talk about, is like having the diversity, encouraging the diversity, and then combining the different people in a team, for the productivity. And here, even though the movie talks about Hindu and Muslim, but at the end they also introduce the Western and respecting all. The way you narrated is amazing. It's a wonderful review, Shankarji. And the auto rickshaw person wearing a multicolor is the representation of the world flag. So it has all the colors, it has all the cultures. When a person could appreciate the others and embrace others' culture, that is the new life, a new form of thought process that we need. I am extremely happy for all the reviews that have been happening on today's session. Thank you, everyone, and the floor is open for others to discuss.
Sir, Shankar sir, the review went on very well, sir. We can picturize it, actually. You were just saying it, we were able to see it. So it was really wonderful. And after all, at the end, new generation, the younger generation is bringing some sort of a solution for the backdrop, okay? And another thing, Lataka is also somewhat related to this topic, because I heard that for her short movie, for one short film, there was such incident where a Muslim woman was to remarry, and the director, Mr. Hanu, I suppose Mr. Hanu, gave one conclusion, but Sneha Akka was against that conclusion, and they both had different opinion. And I really don't know whether the movie came up or not, but maybe because of their differences in their ideas about the production and Sneha Akka's opinion, I think that might have not come up. But anyhow, solutions are required for every problem, and new generation should find out a way for such thing. And that was a really wonderful movie and the review. Thank you, sir.
My first thought on listening to you say this is if I can watch the movie with my 9-year-old and 7-year-old girls. So is this available on Amazon?
It may be available on Amazon. I was fortunate enough to be able to watch it on Roku.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Y'all
Thank you
should
so much.
watch Aruna, this movie.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you have a great way of narrating it. I wouldn't have even known about this movie had I not been here. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, Shankarji, your narration it's crisp, and I did not make note of the time, but then I felt, is it over already? Kind of feeling I got. What one thing that struck out for me was agreeing to, if we can remember, to agreeing to disagree all the time. That opens the door for being, I wouldn't say tolerant because I don't like that word choice. That opens the doors to respect others' feelings and opinions and views, I guess. So throughout for me, that particular phrase came up again and again, agree to disagree. Yeah.
Okay.
Really, I would love to watch this movie. I made a note of it and I'll see where I can get it. Thank you so much for introducing this movie, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shankar ji. Here also, Pooja here, and just wanted to say, I wouldn't have known about this movie, but it sounds like such a promising movie and something which is definitely needed. I think it's very thought provoking and definitely something which needed in society. So I'm glad I was here for the review, and now I'm interested to go watch it. Thank you so much.
You will like it for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you do after. I'm sure I will after such a wonderful review. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shankarji. Now we are off to our next presenter. We have Aparna. She is all about the community welfare and she's socially very active and she's also in IT, but at the same time, she believes very strongly in women empowerment. That's where she works for Telangana associations too. With that being said, she has a great movie which falls probably in the almost the same kind of thought process, but a slightly different perspective. So after you, Aparna.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to review the movie. It's a Hindi movie called Thappad. This movie was released in theaters in February 2020, but it is available to watch on OTT platforms on Netflix and Amazon Prime. The reason why, this movie is very much today similar to the topics that we have discussed so far. All the three topics are women-centric topics today, and this is the fourth women-centric topic that, or the movie that we're going to review today. So this movie mostly it revolves around educated, highly educated woman who is a homemaker, and the main character in this movie is Taapsee Pannu. She has played the role of Amrita in this movie. This movie has been directed by Anubhav Sinha, and the Internet Movie Database, the IMDb, has rated this movie a 6.9 out of 10. So what's good about this movie, or why should you watch this movie, and who should watch this movie? What's good about this movie is this movie has a strong acting by Taapsee Pannu. It's very touching, and it is thought-provoking. It is thought-provoking because at the end of the movie, every man and every woman would like to think, what would I do if I was in this position, or if this happened with me? Most of the times in our society, we know that what they have shown in this movie is actually what we see around us, and which is, it talks. This movie basically talks about this unfair marital norms that we have, but then our society does not want to raise a voice against it. So what would I do, or what would we do if a similar situation has occurred with us or with our siblings or anybody in our family? And it's very realistic, and it is very unique. It's unique in the sense, I don't think anybody has made a movie on such a topic. We have seen many entertainment movies, we have seen other commercial movies, but this movie is unique in the sense it talks about, a woman asking for a divorce just for, getting slapped by her husband once. It's not a domestic violence movie. This movie should not be confused with domestic violence. It's not that the husband keeps beating the wife all the time in the movie, or he's abusing her physically or mentally. It's just one slap. It says it's just a slap, but वो मुझे मार नहीं सकता. एक थप्पड़ ही है, but वो मुझे मार नहीं सकता. And it's a family movie, it's an emotional movie, and yeah, you can definitely watch with your kids, or maybe who are teens, who can understand this, and you can, they can make something out of it, some sense out of it. And every man who loves his wife, or who loves his woman, should also watch this movie for the sake of his wife or woman. And I'll give a brief introduction, or I'll try to narrate this movie. This is a story about a married couple who've been married for a couple of years. Amrita and I think it's Vikram. Yeah, it's Vikram. Amrita and Vikram. Vikram is supposed to be getting a promotion, and they're supposed to be moving to UK. After the promotion, they're supposed to be relocating to UK. So the couple plan to throw a party at their house. And at the party, the husband gets to know that his superior has chosen his junior over him for the promotion, and he might not get the promotion. So the discussion between his superior and the husband, the Vikram, gets into an argument, gets into a heated argument, and Tapsi Pannu, the wife, she tries to come and break over the argument and tries to pacify the husband, but the husband overreacts, and then he slaps her. He slaps her in the party, during the party, in front of everyone. She doesn't say anything, and she just goes back to her room. And then, so she doesn't want to forget this incident, and she cannot come out of it. There are some very powerful dialogues in this movie. So one of the dialogue I would like to quote, she says, okay, why she does not want to forget the incident, and why she does not want to move on. So she says this to her husband: a company में इतने invested थे, you could not move on. मैंने तो अपनी पूरी life invest करी है तुम्हारी साथ, तो कैसे move on कर लूँ? So how should I move on? So she says to her husband, you have invested in your company and you're not able to move on. I have invested my entire life in you, then how would you expect me to move on with this slap? I don't want to move on. So she leaves her husband's place, she goes to live with her parents. Even at her parents' place, she gets to hear the regular stuff which every woman gets to hear. The people tell her, थोड़ी बर्दाश्त करना सीखना चाहिए औरतों को. Women should, try to adjust or learn to adjust and try to compromise and all. And some people tell her that thodi bahut marpeet is an expression of love. Don't you think so? So if a husband is slapping you or hitting you, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you or he doesn't respect you. It's just an expression of love. So they just try to convince her, and so that she goes back to live with her husband. Even one day her husband comes to convince her and take her back home, but then she refuses, saying that the only reason I chose to marry or to live with you is so that I can find some love and respect. But that slap made me realize that I'm not getting anything from you, what I have expected, the love or the respect. Though it's a slap, that slap has opened my eyes to all the small unfair things that I I have been ignoring so far. All I have, invested so much of time and like yeah. Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry. Blank అయిపోయినా. ఒక నిమిషం. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, so she says, yeah, just getting a call just to. Yeah. So she says that she has lost her identity over the time you're trying to make her husband and making her family in-laws and everybody happy, but then yeah, she wants to file for a divorce. She wants a separation. So they go to the court, they fight, and then finally they at the climaxes the husband realizes that he should not have taken his wife for granted. He should not have slapped her. He should not have slapped her, and he tries to apologize to her, and then they mutually separate. They take a legal separation with mutual consent, without any fight or anything and making it bad. Yeah, they just take a proper legal separation. So basically, most of the movies that we have seen so far, they are like, either made for entertainment purpose or for commercial purpose. But this movie has made some impact outside the theaters also. The impact of this movie was the Rajasthan police have released a poster of this movie with a phone number to call for all the women in Rajasthan facing domestic violence. So this is one good impact of this movie that it has made outside. Yeah, that's all about this movie. Thank you.
Aparna, you touched a great movie, but most importantly, you touched a extremely sensitive topic. So, ek thappad hi hai. You know what? That means a lot. It's not just one slap. It's the slap on the expectation. It's the slap on the respect. It's the slap on the individuality of other person, not recognizing what the other person is. And this is this becomes much more sensitive. And I have seen a lot of people that I knew in my closest circle who have come to migrated to other places because of a number of reasons. They were not able to work, and that wasn't actually recognized, that she has to sacrifice her life and career and whatever that she has built all these years for a man in her life, and that was not recognized. And at the same time, they come back and say, hey, you know what, you don't understand what struggle I go through. You don't understand what the other ladies is going through. That's one thing. And I also have seen little above my generation, like my one generation above, I've seen one uncle and aunt. They both are like really exactly in the same position, working in the same organization, drawing equal salary, and she's much smarter than him. But she was constantly humiliated, and I heard that she was being slapped several times, and she's in a situation that she cannot come out of that. Not that she doesn't know that she's in a bad situation, because she could not raise herself when she had the first thappad. Beautiful, beautiful movie, and it's more about how somebody is taken for granted. I would let Charu Malhotra to give her comments. Charuji, you were being very silent and patiently listening to all of us, and off to Singapore now.
Hi, Sneha. Yes, I'm listening for a long time. It's so inspiring. I mean, I'm amazed the way all shares are being done. And yeah, I'm speechless, especially after the last share about the movie Thappad. And I have not watched it yet, but yes, I'm looking forward to watch after hearing this review. And the review by Pooja was amazing. And the other movie review, I missed a little part from that, but yeah, that was also inspiring. And I'm so grateful to you for adding me to this group, and looking forward for wonderful sessions in coming time. Thank you so much.
Charu, why don't you take a moment to explain all of us the work that you do in this space and the other columns that you write?
Oh, thank you so much for that. I'm running an online magazine, womenlines.com, and we are listed in top 40 women online magazine to follow in 2020. So this magazine is all about excellence for women. We are covering the topics leadership skills, entrepreneurship skills, business excellence, physical and mindset health, nutrition, diet. I mean, all those topics which can really help women to excel in life and be the best version of herself. And this is a global magazine reaching out globally. So idea is to get the content from the influencers who are expert in these fields and get their content and publish in the magazine. Plus, I'm running various shows under this magazine. I'm running a show, Books for Excellence show, Entrepreneur of the Month show. There's a Bizway show for entrepreneurs, and we're having Health as a Wealth show for health enthusiasts. So yeah, my idea was why the power of digital media is not being used for excellence. Why we are using just to talk about what's not happening. Why we are not using it to make ourselves the best version of ourselves, because so much knowledge is there, and if we are empowering ourselves with the right knowledge and the right mindset, I think world can be a better place. So this was a crazy idea. I'm running it for 2.5 years now, and I'm getting support across the globe. I'm looking forward for support from you also. We'll love to publish content. Please feel free to email me. I will love to publish something which is really inspiring and which can help women to excel in life.
Thank you, Charu. The reason I asked you to explain the work that you do, because this is all about women empowerment. And we have read so many stories, and we heard so many people who are like, who are looking for their went out channel. They have skills, they have the talent, they are looking for a media to, communicate. They wanted to share their experiences. And at the same time, they also want to empower themselves and empower the others. Goes back to the sisterhood concept that was discussed earlier.
Very
And
well said,
we
Sneha. I
all
agree.
believe
Definitely.
to you.
So yes, that's the idea. I mean, this way, if we are ready to share with each other and we are ready to support each other, amazing things can be done. And one idea, in fact, power of words is amazing. I have strongly believed throughout. So now women empowerment has to change. It shouldn't be just for self freedom to earn for yourself. It has to be empowerment for the mindset and for the knowledge to live the life the right way. It goes for health, it goes for leadership skills, it goes for work, whatever work you are doing, and it goes for working together in a group. Women group is known for not working together. Many times I've heard these stories, we don't support each other. I want to change this notion because I have always worked together in partnership for my previous ventures, and now also I'm collaborating across the globe. So yeah, why don't we get together across the globe and support each other? We have seen in the latest time all the countries which are governed by the lady prime ministers and presidents. I mean, those have done amazing job. Why the number is less? That's my question.
Well, you will get the answer from this group, and you will be
Wonderful. Looking
overwhelmed
forward.
with all the articles that all the wonderful ladies like Aparna, Shamla, Pooja, and Aruna will write. Stay tuned.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And at the same time, men also can write about women empowerment, not
Definitely, because
ignoring them.
yes, it has to go together.
Sure, sure. Shamla, you want to add your comments?
No more Snehaji. I am overwhelmed with the Thappad review because I've seen that movie on the very first day. I was waiting for it at that time. I really loved it because it's one of the movies where deep dignity and choice were highlighted like anything else, because those two were the subtle, very subtle, you know, aspects which I haven't seen in movies getting highlighted very often. On that note, it really it felt good that there is. I wouldn't say beginning, but there is some great work that's being done uh, in the area of movies, the choice, whatever it is, like, because we see there is another character in that movie who chooses for whatsoever the reasons to be in an unpalatable marital relationship. But still, I felt it's her choice, so she wants to be. She's choosing it. So, on that note, this movie highlighted the aspects of dignity and choice, like any other movie did before. Thank you, Aparna ji, for making us relive that experience one more time. Thank you so much. That's a great movie, thought-provoking one. Yeah.
Shankar ji, you want to add your comments?
Sure. I haven't watched the movie, but I did look at the trailer and the review. It is an interesting movie, and what it highlights to me is the effect of one thappad. It is, as Aparnaji mentioned, there's a dialogue in that movie where she says it is just one thappad, but that one thappad makes a lot of difference. It shows what you actually think of me. So to me, it's a very strong message being passed down.
Awesome. Thank you, Aparna. It's a wonderful session. Now we have our very silent lady, Aruna Adiraju, and she's in Atlanta. I knew her through another platform, and I was very impressed when she was doing a prayer song, and for my event also she did. And she's a beautiful singer, very melodious voice, and she's a blogger. She had connections with IT, and more importantly, she enjoys her motherhood with two little girls. So after you, Arunaji, I know whenever I talk about your children, you get a big smile on you. I know you're like an awesome mother. So, and I have tasted your food too, and you're a great cook too.
Thank you so much, Sneha ji. You really have a great way of empowering people and building people up with your words. You're very kind. And I truly am a dabbler, and I feel very, very humbled to be a part of this elite group. I just like reading, and this is one area of life that I always wanted to build myself in, and this is exactly what I need at this time. And I feel so blessed to learn from you all. And what a great time of the I think it is great that we have this session on a Sunday, because it actually lets you start the week with a beautiful note. It is such a nice food for thought. And as I was just in the course of this week, there are so many wonderful books to read and so many nice movies to watch. And I just love how my week has started. And thanks to you. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm actually going to review a Telugu book today, and it's mostly going to be in Telugu. I hope we do not have any non-Telugu speaking folks here.
We
if
have Shankar ji, but I think he'll tag along.
I really apologize for that. Um,
It's all about
Nidurinch.
learning others, Aruna, so don't worry about it. They just
Thank you. I'll try to, because the book is in Telugu and narrating in Telugu will help me capture the flavor. And I'm really not that good in translating. So okay, let me start. నిదురించే తోటలోకి పాట ఒకటి వచ్చింది, కన్నుల్లో నీరు తుడిచి కమ్మటి కల ఇచ్చింది, కన్నుల్లో నీరు తుడిచి కమ్మటి కల ఇచ్చింది. గుంటూరు శేషేంద్ర శర్మ గారి ఈ పాట భావాన్ని అన్వయిస్తూ రచయిత్రి రాసిన కథ నేను ఇప్పుడు చదవబోయే కథ. పుస్తకం పేరు, ది నేమ్ ఆఫ్ ద బుక్, ఇట్స్ కిటికీ బయట వెన్నెల. దిస్ ఇస్ ఇది ఒక కథల సంపుటి. అండ్ రచయిత్రి భాషలో చెప్పాలంటే జీవితానికి పరిమళం అద్దే 10 కథలు ఉన్నాయి ఇందులో. నేను ఈరోజు రివ్యూ చేయబోయే కథ పేరు తన్మయి. ముందుగా రచయిత్రి పరిచయం. డాక్టర్ వాడ్రేవ్ వీరలక్ష్మీదేవి గారి బాల్యం తూర్పుగోదావరి జిల్లా రాజవొమ్మంగి మండలం సర్భవరం గ్రామంలో గడిచింది. ఇప్పుడు ఆవిడ ఉండేది కాకినాడలోని. తెలుగులో ఎంఏ అండ్ పిహెచ్డి చేసి కాకినాడలో పలు కళాశాలలలో రీడర్గా పనిచేసి 2012లో పదవీ విరమణ చేశారు. 1980లో వెన్నెల ముగ్గు అనే కథా రచయిత్రిగా సాహితీ జీవితాన్ని మొదలుపెట్టి ఎన్నో కథలు, ఎన్నో సాహితీ వ్యాసాలు రాశారు. ముఖ్యంగా చలంగారి సాహిత్యంపై చేసిన డాక్టరల్ రీసెర్చ్ సత్యాన్వేష చలం that got her a gold medal from Andhra University, and beyond this she has many more literary awards to her credit. ఇవన్నీ ఒకెత్తు, బియాండ్ ఆల్ దట్ ఆవిడ మా కుటుంబానికి చాలా గొప్ప ఆత్మీయురాలు, అండ్ ఐ ట్రూలీ ఫీల్ బ్లెస్డ్ టు హ్యావ్ నోన్ హర్ వెరీ ఎర్లీ ఇన్ లైఫ్. సో getting started with the book. ఈ పుస్తకం it more or less it starts as a narrative of a 70-year-old 70 years young woman, రీఫ్రేజింగ్ 70 వసంతాల జీవితం నిండిన తాయారమ్మ గారు ఆవిడ నెరేట్ చేసిన కథగా మొదలవుతుంది. ఇది తన్మయి అన్న అమ్మాయి ఆవిడ మనవరాలు. I'm just reading, this is an excerpt from what the author wrote herself. తన్మయి బామ్మ తాయారు. పాట ఆమెకి ప్రాణం. పాడే కంఠం ఆమెకు ఒక వరం. అయినా ఆ తరంలో పుట్టిన తాయారు పాటను ఆమె మేనత్తే అయిన అత్తగారు, బావ అయిన భర్త కూడా ప్రోత్సహించకపోగా నిరుత్సాహపరచడంతో పాట గొంతులోనే ఉండిపోయింది. కానీ చచ్చిపోలేదు. ఆమె దానిని అన్నేళ్లు కాపాడుకుంటూ వచ్చింది. ఆ ఊరు, ఆ ఇల్లు, ఆ సంసారం గడిచాక ఆమె పాటను ప్రేమించిన చిన్న కొడుకు ఇంట్లో కుదురుకున్నాక మళ్ళీ జలధారలా ఉబికి వచ్చింది. ఆమె మేనకోడలు కూడా ఆమెలాగే సంగీత ప్రియ. కానీ భర్త దగ్గర నుండి ప్రోత్సాహం లేదు. ఆమెకు రావలసినంత పేరు, అవకాశాలు రాలేదు. కానీ 3వ తరంలో తాయారు మనవరాలికి అమిత ప్రోత్సాహం అన్ని చోట్ల నుంచి. ఒకనాడు పాట పాడుకునే అవకాశం లేక మరుగున పడిపోయిన ప్రతిభ ఇప్పుడు 100ల మంది గాయనులుగా వర్ధిల్లుతున్నది. ఈ కథలో తాయారు పాట కోసం పడిన తపన, వేదనలను, ఆనాటి సంప్రదాయాలను, మనస్తత్వాల నేపథ్యంలో అత్యంత సహజంగా జరిగిన కథ ఇది. ఆఖరికి లైన్, ఐ లవ్ ద వే షీ ఎండెడ్ ద స్టోరీ. నిద్రించే తోటలోకి పాట ఒకటి కాదు, వేలు లక్షలు. ఆవిడ గొంతులో మూగపోయిన పాట ఆవిడ మనవరాల ద్వారా అసలు ఎంతో మంది ఎన్నో పాటలు పాడుతూ ఇట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ కేమ్ బ్యాక్ టు హర్ మల్టిప్లైడ్ బై మెనీ మోర్ ఫోల్డ్స్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ అ స్టోరీ దట్ ఐ రియలీ లవ్డ్. అండ్ బియాండ్ దట్ ఈవిడ కథలన్నిటిలోని మానవీయ సంబంధాలను ఎంతో చక్కగా చూపిస్తారు. ఎంతో భావుకత. వన్ ఆఫ్ ద రీజన్స్ I love listening and I love reading Tolstoy's works more because of all that the descriptions that he gives, the beautiful descriptions of that wild Russian countrysides. నాకు ఈవిడ పుస్తకాలు చదువుతున్నప్పుడు కూడా I kind of get the same feeling. But Thappad జిల్లా, more nativity, a sense of belonging. So it calms me down anytime I read her stories, anytime I read her books. I feel like I'm at home. నేను ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్ చదువుతాను ఆవిడ వర్ణించినది. గాలి వీచినప్పుడల్లా, I think 1 minute. ఆ రోజుల్లో మా ఇంటి పెరటి వైపు సంజవేళలు మరుపుకు రావు. వాటిని సాయంత్రాలు అనబుద్ధి కాదు, సంజవేళలే అనాలనిపిస్తుంది. పెరట్లో ఉత్తరం వైపు అరుగు పక్కన సన్నజాజి పందిరి, దాని కవితల ఖాళీ స్థలంలో పొడుగాటి పడమటి సాయంత్రపు నీడలు వాలేవి. అవి నెమ్మదిగా మాయమవడంతో పాటు మసక వెలుగులు. ఇళ్లకు చేరే పశువులు వాసనను మోసుకొచ్చేవి. ఇంతలో ఆ మూలనే ఉన్న వేప చెట్టు కొమ్మల్లో చంద్రవంకను పూయించేది. I think something like this, we all feel it or experienced it at some point of time. And for me, this is my ancestral home, and I just love reading her stories. So that's about it. Na bhashalo na tappulunte manninchandi. And thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm excited to be a part of this group. Thanks.
Aruna, you
And
have refreshed everybody's memories. I'm sure like everybody have gone back to their grandma's house without losing themselves. Like, if you think about us, right, I might want to do, I may have some unfilled, like unpublished wish list, right? So I have an unpublished wish list, and it is not rare. It is everybody, every lady, every man has an unpublished wish list that they want to accomplish. Like a man wanted to do something, but he got married, he couldn't do it. I wanted to do something, but I don't have the support that I needed, or I wasn't very confident of myself, or I felt like I'm not that talented, or like maybe I'm too outdated in the world. So we all have that unpublished wish list, and how we can find ourselves and publish our wish list in a multi-folded manner, right? Here it goes back to the closer question that Shamala has asked, and Pooja said, like, the one of the closure is like, she mentioned three, and this is the fourth closure. It goes back to like, you have an unfulfilled dream and you have an unpublished dream. Yes, come on, girls, you're dare enough, you're bold enough. Come over very openly and publish your things, and the world will support you in whatever the manner. The previously, you have to go personally, go and do that. But now things have changed. The technology has changed. The society and the perspectives have changed. So everybody can go ahead and publish their unfulfilled dreams and their wish list very openly, and the moment you open there, you would not even believe there is 100% of resistance, but there are 1,000 folds of encouragement in the world, and we are all up for that. Wonderful book, and the story is very, very apt for today's. And I see Kamala is super excited. After you, Kamala ji.
ఏం లేదండి, మీరు అన్నట్టు నేను ప్లేస్ నాది కైకలూరు అనమాట, కానీ ఆ తర్వాత పెరిగింది వైజాగ్. కానీ ఐ కుడ్ క్లియర్లీ కనెక్ట్ టు దోస్ మెమరీస్. సన్నజాజి పందిరి, అండ్ నేను లాట్ మోర్ థింగ్స్, మల్లె పందిళ్ళు, సీతాఫలం చెట్లు. అండ్ ఐఎమ్ సంబడి హూ ఆల్వేస్ లవ్డ్ లుకింగ్ ఎట్ ద వరల్డ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద టాప్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. సో అవన్నీ గుర్తొచ్చాయి అనమాట. నేరేడు చెట్టు అవన్నీ ఎక్కేయడం, అంటే అందరు దెబ్బలాడేవారు అనమాట. పెద్దమ్మలు, అత్తయ్యలు, కాళ్ళు విరిగిపోతే నిన్ను ఎవరు పెళ్లి చేసుకుంటారు అనేవారు. అంటే ఐ ఆల్వేస్ యూస్ టు టెల్ దెమ్, మీరందరూ కార్తీక మాసంలో సతీ సుమతి కథ వింటారు కదా, మరి సతీ సుమతి వాళ్ళ ఆయన్ని తప్పెట్టు కదా. సో అలాగే ఎవరన్నా దొరుకుతారేమో, అలా దొరికినప్పుడు మీకు ఒక ప్రాబ్లం కూడా తీరుతుంది. వాళ్ళు మంచి వాళ్ళు చెడ్డ వాళ్ళు వెతకక్కర్లేదు. సో కాళ్ళు విరిగిపోయిన నన్ను అలా నెత్తి మీద పెట్టుకొని తీసుకెళ్ళడానికి వస్తే వాళ్ళు మంచి వాళ్ళే అని వ్యాలిడేట్ చేసేసుకోవచ్చు. కాబట్టి నేను చెట్టు ఎక్కితే మీకు ఆ బెనిఫిట్ అని చెప్పి చెట్టు ఎక్కి కూర్చునేదాన్ని అనమాట. సో I was thinking about all those. I went into those days after a very long time.
Aparna ji.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you.
You have a very melodious voice, and మీరు చాలా బాగా పాడతారు, and మీ మాట కూడా చాలా చాలా బాగుంది. అండ్ యువర్ నరేషన్ చాలా బాగా చెప్పారు.
చాలా సూదింగ్ గా ఉంటుంది తన వాయిస్, ఎప్పుడు మాట్లాడినా కానీ చాలా చాలా పీస్ఫుల్ గా వస్తుంది తన వాయిస్ కూడా. అగ్రెసివ్.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Anybody else want to add?
Yeah. Aruna ma'am, the voice was really very sweet, and the narration, you are habituated to tell such stories or read such stories to your children. So we can see that a small kid is telling the story. It was very cute. That's nice.
Thank you. And if you're local to Atlanta and if you feel like borrowing the book, please, anytime.
Yeah, I should borrow that book. And today, we have people joined us from 3 different countries. We have Jilani from India, Charu from Singapore, and we are all local to Atlanta. So Anand is being very silent, but he's very active on the chat, and I guess he's very impressed with all the reviews, and he loved the melodious voice as well. Kudos to you, Aparna. And with that being said, I think we are right on time. It's 11 o'clock. I think we have accomplished the goal for the day. We have reviewed 3 books and 2 movies. Everything is empowering our souls. Awesome. We'll meet again next week, same time with different agenda. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.